Guys, I am so freaking excited because I passed the PMP exam on the first try in all 3 domains. So if you want to learn how you can also pass the exam on the first try, please make sure you stay tuned until the end of the video. And if you're new here, I'm Ulyssia. I share my life in my 30s while trying to find balance as a full-time corporate project manager, mom of 3, and everything in between. So if you haven't already, I would love for you to hit subscribe down below. So one of my most popular videos on my channel right now is how I became a project manager with no experience. So I feel that it's only right for me to make this video for you guys to give you a few tips and tricks on how I passed the exam, and hopefully they'll work for you as well. So I know that you guys will probably still have tons of questions. So if you have any questions, please feel free to drop them down in the comments, and I will be sure to respond to you, or even create a Q&A to get all of your questions answered regarding anything project management related. And guys, it is freezing in my house right now, which is why I have on this thick behind sweater. So please bear with me because I am freezing cold, but I really wanted to create this video for you guys while I have everything fresh in my mind regarding the PMP exam. So if you're wondering what is the PMP exam, the PMP basically stands for Project Management Professional. It is basically the gold standard certification in project management that you can receive, and it is recognized internationally. Before you can even sit for the project management exam, there are a few requirements that you must meet. And one of those requirements, if you have a bachelor's degree, is to make sure that you have 35 hours of training in project management. There are tons of courses out there where you can gain your 35 hours. So I purchased this book off Amazon by Andrew R. It actually came with a 35-hour course, which is why I purchased it to begin with. And his course was very good. It was very detailed. But the main reason why I bought it is because I've heard so many great reviews on his teaching style. And the most important part of his course was the mindset. I cannot tell you guys how many times I referenced his mindset slides throughout my journey of studying for this PMP. So I will personally recommend either taking his Udemy course or purchasing this book so that you can access the course as well. You also need to have 36 months of project management experience leading projects within the last 8 months. This is the one that gets most people tripped up on how they can actually meet those requirements. I've heard stories of so many people who've never held the title of project manager still being able to meet this requirement, because in corporate there are many different ways that you can manage projects without necessarily being a project manager. I've seen cases of teachers transitioning over, therapists, whatever the case may be. As long as you can show that you've managed a project throughout its life cycle from initiation to closure, then you should be fine. I will say that the application process is very detailed. You do have to be as detailed as possible to make sure that you don't get audited. Because if you get audited, it's just a pain in the butt to have to go to all of your managers and get them to sign off on those projects that you listed on your application. So if you've met those minimum requirements, then you can go ahead and apply to take the exam. I think after I finished my application, it took them about 5 business days to actually approve it for me to go log into my account and actually pay for my exam. I paid for my exam on November 6th, and at the time, the earliest appointment available, I think, was like November, the end of November, and I felt like it was too soon with Thanksgiving, and I knew I wasn't going to have enough time to fully dedicate the amount of studying that I wanted to. So the next option available for me was January 31st. So I went ahead and I booked it for January 31st at the testing center. I do recommend, if you're going to take this exam, to do it at the testing center, because I've heard so many horror stories about folks being basically kicked out of their exam because you moved away from the camera, or if you were trying to read a question and they saw your mouth moving. Whatever the case may be, just save yourself some stress and take it at the testing center. Because I chose January 31st as my exam date, they gave me about 2 full months of studying with the holidays included. And I'm so happy that I did it that way, because for the full Thanksgiving week, I did not study because my daughter was out of school. I didn't study at all that week. And then Christmas came around. I didn't study the week of Christmas. So pushing the exam out to January 31st gave me plenty of time to study. And I personally think that 2 months is plenty of time to study for the exam, as long as you have a really good study plan. Now, probably everyone's favorite part of the video, the tools and resources that I personally use to study for the exam. Like I said, I did purchase this book off Amazon from Andrew R. The book itself is okay, but the content in the book does not match up with the content that's in his actual course. They're like out of order. Now that I've tried to use both the book, his course, and a few other tools, I wouldn't recommend reading this book at all. It may be helpful for some, but for me personally, I just felt like it wasn't worth it to take the time to read through this book. What I did was I went through the full 35-hour course that Andrew offers online. Once I completed that, I downloaded specific slides throughout the course, with the main one being the mindset section. I printed those slides out and I reviewed the mindset section over and over and over again. I also purchased the PMI study hall. You guys, if you don't do anything else to study for your exam, please purchase the PMI study hall. I know it gets such a bad rep online because it is very, very challenging, but please stick with it and it will be so worth it. Study hall is awesome simply because you have practice questions, which I think there are like a total of 700 questions that you can take. You have practice exams, which are like mini exams, and then you have the full length exams. For the subscription that I purchased, you get 2 full length exams, and I think it's about 15 mini exams. Hands down, guys, I don't care what anyone says, please purchase study hall and complete every single practice question, every mini quiz, and both of those practice tests. I promise you, once you get through that, you will be more than ready for this test. You'll be more than ready. I feel like if I did not stick with study hall, although it's very hard and I was scoring low, I probably would not have passed above target in all 3 domains. The reason why I stuck with it is because I know that this is the closest that you're going to get to the actual test, simply because it is made by PMI. So I feel like it's worth the $50 and it's just going to help you so much more. But this is just my personal experience, and I personally feel like it was worth the money. There were some times I will say that I was so stressed out because of study hall and I wanted to just say forget it, but I didn't. I just reviewed the questions that I got wrong. I studied the mindset behind the questions, and I was able to score higher on the next mini test that I took. In addition to study hall, whenever I felt like I wasn't understanding certain concepts, because I think if you're going to take this exam, you need to make sure you actually understand the concepts and the foundation behind what it means to be a project manager. Don't just take the test because you want to have the certification. I feel like you need to take this exam because you truly want to learn the foundation of what it means to be a really good project manager. And you just truly want to learn. I wasn't just using study hall to just pass the exam. I was also using it to test my knowledge on what it means to be a project manager, really learning the different methodologies. That was the point of me taking this exam. So with that being said, because I was scoring low initially on the practice questions and my first few mini exams, I did go and watch a few of David Mclahan's. I hope I'm saying his name correctly. I watched a few of his YouTube videos, with one of them being, I think it's 200 agile questions. I'll leave it down in the description box for you guys. But his videos are really awesome because he truly helps you understand the mindset behind each of the questions. It's one thing to just answer the question correctly, but you need to understand why the answer is correct. I will say that his questions that are on his videos are a little bit easier than what was on the actual exam and what is on PMI. So do take that with a grain of salt. However, it does help you with the mindset portion tremendously. The other resource that I use to study for the PMP exam are the Third Rock notes from Reddit. Guys, these notes were freaking amazing. I bought the full length notes and also the cheat sheet. I would say for the most part, I tried to read through the whole packet of the full notes, but it was just so much information that I couldn't get through all of it. So I used the cheat sheet to basically drill down the mindset and the most important concepts before I actually took the exam. And I think that also helped pay off as well. So those are the main resources and tools that I use to study for this exam. I will say out of everything that I use, the two most helpful for me were PMI Study Hall and the Third Rock Notes. I think with those two combined that you can pass this test, no questions asked on the first try. All right, so now that we discussed what I use to study, I also want to get into the actual exam day and what the exam was like for me. One piece of advice that I would give to you guys is to just relax. I know it's hard to say that because this is such an important test. Once you get into that testing room, you have to just take a deep breath, remember everything that you studied, and just do your best. I will say that my exam was about 60% agile, 40% everything else. And I felt that I should prepare for that because study hall has quite a few hybrid and agile mini exams. So I felt prepared for that. One of the biggest things you have to look out for when you're taking this exam is making sure you're managing your time properly, because if you take too much time on one question, you can very easily waste all of your time and you'll be rushing to complete the exam. A minute and a half is plenty of time to read the question and choose the best answer. When you are choosing your answers, choose the best possible answer. There will always be one or two questions that could be the right answer, but you have to choose the best answer for the question that is asking you. And you also need to make sure that you're truly reading the question and looking out for any keywords in there. For example, if you see product owner, you know that this is more than likely going to be an agile question. So you need to look for that in the answers that are presented to you. But yeah, my biggest tip that I have you guys is just to make sure you're managing your time properly. Yes, you have 4 hours, but that 4 hours goes by quickly, especially when you are stressing out and you're in the middle of the test. I don't want to ramble on too much more, guys. I took my test in January and it's now February. So I'm just trying to remember as much as possible from the actual exam day for you guys. If there are any specific questions that you have for me, please leave them down in the comments below and I'll be sure to respond. But yeah, I just wanted to keep this video short and sweet for you guys, give you a few tips on what I did to pass the exam, and hopefully you can pass the exam using these resources and tips and tricks as well. As always, guys, if you haven't subscribed already, please make sure you hit subscribe down below.